All right, there we go. So we'll start off with fundamentals. Not a big week for fundamentals quite yet. A second. All right, there we go. Okay, let's jump over to the calendar. And here she is. So not a big week that I'm looking for on the US dollar, right? Nothing really major is happening quite to what I want to see. We're going to start off tomorrow morning, ISM manufacturing, right? Not a big movement going into the dollar itself, but we are going to see a little bit of movement on indices. Um, we do have Canadian, the Bank of Canada is going to be coming out with their potential rate reduction. You can see they're forecasting the 0.25%. So 25 basis points is what everybody's kind of looking at for the most part across all central banks, right? So nothing really going to be a shocker there. Really on the US dollar front, we're going to be looking at what our weekly JOLTS job openings are going to come out as. I spoke about this in the past. It's not a big number when we really are, it's not a big piece of data when we're looking at it from a labor perspective. But when you kind of start to see what's going on in between the lines, right? So, there's only two reasons that job openings are either going up or down, and it's whether or not those openings are being filled via positions or those openings are not being filled and are being deleted, right? So you kind of have to follow the numbers on where we are in the US job market. So we're starting to see that unemployment is creeping up. Obviously, Friday is NFP, right? So first Friday of every month, that's really going to be what I'm going to be paying attention to. So trading into Friday, I'm just going to be getting the little scraps that I can. I'm not really looking for long-term position holds. Quite honestly, the first week of the month, my big weeks are always going to be the second and third week, right? Preceding NFP. So Joel's job openings coming out. That's going to kind of give me a precursor to what Friday's going to look like. The typical Thursday unemployment claims is coming out as well. We have the non-farm employment change. So the big data that came out last week, we prepared for it. Was the the 800,000 jobs that ultimately were said to have been created, but not really created. So that was something coming out of the Department of Labor. One bit of advice I'd give you is if you're just going to Forex Factory to find your news, you're only doing about 50% of the work, right? So the quarterly update for the jobs report coming out of the Department of Labor, that's not on Forex Factory, right? That's something you've either got to read going into it. You've got to understand what's coming out specifically if you trade indices, right? Like Forex Factory doesn't have, last week's NVIDIA earnings report coming out for their quarter. So if you're trading indices, if you're doing anything in the U.S. markets, you definitely want to start making sure you're looking at not just what's on Forex Factory, but what's actually coming out from the U.S. statistics. Um, but really, like I said, it's going to be a dead week going into Friday, right? Friday's just going to be where everything's going to be. I honestly probably will not even wake up early Thursday like I normally do, just because typically everything that over the years, everything I've learned is Friday NFP. If I don't get into a position Wednesday, the Thursday pretty much market goes sideways, right? So not a big week, right? We're not looking at a lot of fundamentals. Obviously, you're going to be trading the Canadian dollar. Get ready because there's going to be. If I could guarantee you, if they come in more than 25 basis points, that's going to be a huge movement for the Canadian dollar. And if they come in with a pause instead of the rate reduction, that's also going to have a pretty big, significant impact. I personally am not looking at any Canadian pairs this week, so I really don't care. I'll kind of follow. I understand what's happening out of the Bank of Canada. For me, all eyes are going to be on what the Fed's doing in 2 weeks' time, right? When we get FOMC ourselves, that's going to be the big movement in the market. So, kind of having the understanding of what's happening fundamentally this week. Let's take a look at the charts. So I personally have not done any markups this week. So this is going to be the first time I'm going to be looking at the market kind of get in a game plan of what I want to see happen and kind of go forward with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, give it a second. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, so let's start with the dollar. All right, let's get an idea of what's happening with the dollar. So for me, how I ended last week was looking for that continuation move on the dollar. And yeah, I mean, nothing really changes where we ended and where I'm looking. So, we're still very much on the same bias of a bearish dollar. So we ended up redistributing here, which is what I wanted to see. Obviously, I was looking for some positions on a pullback up here. We didn't get it. Um, so nothing really changes. I'm looking for continuation moves on it. So I am going to. So I am going to be looking to see if price can kind of get its way back up into this area up here. If we can, that's ultimately what I'm going to be looking for some continuation moves on the dollar. If we cannot, right, then I want to see ultimately us get a redistribution. So two things are going to happen here. We either come back into our Thursday's news event. 50% of the entire redistro is going to be right around that 102.85 level, right? So if I would say the next 24 hours, we could get price to kind of continue pushing up. This is going to be really where I'm going to be looking at. So I've got my alert set at 102.600. Price gets up to that 102.600. I'm looking for distribution signs of sellers to take this lower. If price does not do that, right? Obviously, breaking the low here, we have a new redistribution. So I would be looking to play out of this order flow here. I'm not really going to be aggressive going into the start of the week with this, but if we do see, and it already kind of looks like we're getting a distribution here. If we do end up getting some signs of sellers in here, so let's say we get a pop up here, really nice type 1 distribution, price ends up breaking down, and we at least take out the most recent demand, which is sitting right up here. So break of order flow there. I will be aggressive, and I'm only going to be aggressive because it's the dollar, and I understand that we have a very short amount of time, right? We have less than 2 weeks to really get into some long-term short positions on the dollar before, in my opinion, this thing just falls off the side of the earth. So if this ends up being a distro that I hope it is, and we end up taking out that demand area, once we've confirmed that and we're now here, I'm going to be looking for continuation moves of redistribution down, or I'll be looking for price to come back and mitigate the distro and look for price action here to continue lowering this into a new low. So if we don't come up into premium, I will play an aggressive move. I'm just going to lower my risk, right? I'll just reduce the risk, that I'm going to be taking out of here, and I'm going to be targeting new lows to then ultimately convert this now into a new redistribution. So that's really the only two ways I'm going to get into this are going to be come up to premium, look for price out of last week's news events, or I need us to distribute properly, real good signs of sellers taking out at most or at minimum the most recent demand area. And then from there, I'll start looking at it. So I don't envision that I'm going to be able to get into a position within at least, minimum is going to be 24 hours. So I don't feel like there's going to be anything for me to get into tonight. Definitely probably nothing into tomorrow. So this probably, if this ends up doing this and then breaking this low, I'm looking probably around a Wednesday, Frankfurt to London into New York entry is what I'm looking at, right? So that's kind of my game plan. That's what I'm going to be looking for on the dollar. And then again, for the rest of the week, it's going to be targeting that new low. All right. What does that kind of look like when we jump over to EU? It's going to pretty much be the same exact thing, right? One of two things needs to happen here. Let's this catch up. There we go. All right. So ideally, you can already see, this is what I was waiting for last week to see if we can get into our price action, which sits right down in here, right? So if price can get down in here, I've got my alert sitting right at 110. If price can get down in here, I'm going to be looking for accumulations to then take this higher. All right. So that's going to be first game plan. If price doesn't do that, then the distro that sits here, and we have our creek, it's going to be the inverse of what we're looking on the dollar. If this ends up being the accumulation that I think it's going to be, and it gives me an opportunity to take a buy out of it, right? I'll take the aggressive move and I will look to see. So, one drive, two drive, three drive, potentially if we sweep out, maybe tonight, we get the break, we come back in, I'll be looking to do this to target that new high and overall confirm the higher reaccumulation. That's pretty much it. So I'm either going to get the alert down here at 110, getting us back into here, or this now needs to confirm an accumulation. I most definitely want to see a sweep of Asian. So again, anywhere from 12 to 24 hours from now is where I'd like to see price do that. So you wouldn't look to short EU into the 1.10. I'm not. No. Does this look like, just look at EU. Does this look like sellers are in this market? Just look at EU from, heck, you can go all the way back to April. But does this look like a market cycle that is telling you that sellers are in this market? If the answer is no, then what reason do we have that price is going to come down to 1.10? We don't. Obviously, this is the area where I'd like to see price come into. I'd love for it to come even lower. I'd love it to actually come into what's maintaining our cycle, right? This was the accumulation. This is the reaccumulation. Now we're up here. But I don't have a reason for price to say it will come down there. We haven't had any deep pullbacks, so no, I have no intention of selling it. I'm just looking for buys on EU. Yeah, I'm only looking for buys. that is it. So actually, I looked at one of these. Where is it? Hold on, let me just see. One of these challenges that I'm doing on Alpha Capital. I looked at my stats on it for the last 30 days. Where is it at? Hold on. Let me just sign into this bad boy. I looked at my stats over the last 30 days on my Alpha Capital one, and here, I'll just put it up here. Let's see. So last 30 days, what have I done? So come on. Where is Advanced Insights, maybe? Yeah, here we go. So I pretty much traded all just US 30 and GU buys because that's really all it gave me. And what was this? This was, I wanted to see what it was, how it broke down. Let's see. Bear with me because I ain't got my glasses. I'm trying to read this fast. Pretty much this was all just longs. I didn't take one short. Let's see, account analysis maybe. Yeah, here you go. There you go. Wait a minute. Let's see. There it is. Let it kick in. There we go. Where is, how come it's not doing? Let's see if it kicks in. Long and short balance, but it's telling me that I took 1,000. I didn't take 1,000 trades on short. This is something's funky here. I was just looking at this. Where is it at? Let's see. No, I did. Let's see. Didn't I screenshot this stupid thing? Oh well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know why it's acting funky. It's telling me I took 1,000 short trades and I didn't take 1,000 short trades. So, yeah, it is what it is. Long and short comparison. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's telling me I took a short. Look, it says I took 912 short trades, but if I go over to my account matrix and I go to the trading journal, let's see. Yeah, I mean, you could see, look, they're all buys, and then it's the sell to close out. So something's funky on it. It is what it is. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, it's a good firm. Yeah, I mean, it's a firm. You know what I mean? That's I have, what do I have now? I have 23 different prop firms that I trade on. So it's a firm. That's all I care about, man. Can you do case study on US 30 buys somewhere in the future? A case study on US 30 buys? Um, yeah, man, just I mean, buy out of New York. I mean, that's pretty much what I've been doing every day. I'm not looking for one sell. I haven't looked for a sell on indices in a long time. So, um, but anyway, all right. So EU, right? EU. I mean, we're in this massive accumulation right here. So I am going to be looking to see if we can at least sweep out Asian lows. Um, that would probably get me to start being aggressive to look for entries. I can tell you right now, I'm probably not going to wait for the larger accumulation to confirm before I start looking for entries. So, can we validate this as a one drive, two drive, three drive? And if we come in here in spring, is that going to be our fourth drive in the spring? Yeah. I mean, we definitely have our first change of character here, right? Deeper retracement in the previous one here. We have a secondary test. This could be a secondary test in phase B. If we confirm now going into phase C, we could definitely see buy orders coming in. So yeah, I guarantee if we sweep below here, I'll be looking to see if I can get a smaller accumulation to now break the high, confirm the type 1, potentially look for mitigation or continuation move, right? Before we can get mitigation, I'll look for the reaccumulations and take this higher. EU gave some pretty decent price action last week to get into some entries. I know some of the guys caught it. Yeah. So, and I'll be looking to make a new high. So, I don't necessarily have a lot of confidence that we're going to be coming down here, but if we do, great. I'm ready for it. But yeah, so EU, that's my game plan, right? I'm looking for longs out of that bad boy. How do you handle the firms that use DX trade since there's no calculator for it? Yeah, man, I just use my trade copier, bro. Yep. My trade copier, any trade copier, you just do it based off of balance ratio. Yeah. Yeah, I mean I've got issues with DX Trade because the firm for one has to open up the API source code to it. So like FTMO hasn't, but if you're on, some of these 8-cap BS ones, they've opened it. If you're on, what's the other one? Voyage Markets. think it's Voyage Markets. Yeah, if you're on Voyage Markets, they've got it open. So yeah, I just use, I still have many of my accounts are still, like, at least the master accounts are still in MT5. So I still use my PSC on them. Yep. All right. So that's going to be the game plan for EU. Nothing really changes. Again, looking for buys going into the end of the week. All right. Now GU, pretty much the same thing. I'm not anticipating that we're going to get any kind of pullback on this bad boy, right? So last week, really nice, really nice GU positions to the upside, especially off some buy stops. I mean, the one position that came in on Thursday of the 8th of, what is this, 8th of August is the oldest position I'm in. I mean, that thing is sitting still around a 1 to 56. We had the one on the 15th of, Thursday, the 15th. There was another one that came in on Tuesday, which was in here that I missed, but some of the other guys grabbed it. So because of the time difference, I guess some people, include myself and a lot of friends here in Asia, miss out on the live Zoom sessions. However, your recorded Zooms on YouTube definitely help a lot of us. Watch them regularly, and they really assist us journaling some of the learning. So I'm truly grateful for all. Yeah, I mean, that's great, man. But I'll be honest, like a lot of what I do is question asking. There's 7 guys on it. I move it. I used to do it at 7 p.m. So I've moved it to 4 p.m. to kind of include a lot of some of the other people. It is what it is. Like I said, I mean, I'm not blaming anybody, for not hopping on. I mean, I know everybody's busy. I know other people got some stuff, and truthfully, man, I've been doing these Zooms since 2018. So I mean, that's a long run. Ideally it'd be great for some other people to kind of pick up that slack and do it. I look back over the last 6 years, and yeah, I mean, I'm in a different place 6 years, forward. I'm definitely, I'm older. I'm a little more busy. I've got the kids that are definitely older and doing a lot more. So, but yeah, when I can, I'll do it, man. I remember back in the day, I would say that it used to be a crapshoot to try to get into the Zoom call, because I had the plan I had only capped it at 100. So if you weren't in the 100, you had to wait for the video to get uploaded. And, you guys can see it normally takes like 12 hours for everything to finally get uploaded. So yeah, it is what it is. All good, man. All right. So GU. So GU actually has come in the last 12 hours. She's come into the area that I was looking for. Let's take a look at this real quick. Let's just see what she potentially can give us here. So you can kind of see where I was looking at to end the week, right? I was looking to see, do we come back in here, or do we end up trying to get that distribution to be a reaccumulation? Obviously the reaccumulation is not going through currently, right? So we did tap into the area that I wanted us to come into. The question now is, do we have enough buyers to get into this? So let's just see what we have. Do we have enough buyers? I mean, order flow is still bearish on this thing. So, I would say that none of this really matters at this point. What I would like to see, where does she tap into? Did she come into the 50? She came pretty darn close to the 50 of it. So she does mitigate. She does mitigate ultimately. I mean, and really it's not even holding a lot. I mean, it is just demand. I would honestly prefer us to come lower and trade into this New York price action here. This would give me way better reason to look for an aggressive entry. So, my anticipation is hopefully dollar can give us the distribution, with the manipulation to the high. EU is, if that happens, I'm looking for EU to give me the opposite and sweep out that Asian low. We may not get, right? We may not get that sweep down here on GU. That may give us, a little bit of comparable strength divergence. So what I would want to see is some kind of manipulation. So whether they're going to keep that Asian intact, if we kind of just range sideways and we ultimately do a sweep of Asian during ultimately like Frankfurt or London, that's what I would be looking for. Right. Ultimately that's what I would want to see. And then take it to the upside. But I would need before being aggressive on GU, dollar needs to confirm for me, right? So I would need to see dollar confirm that distribution for me to want to get in. If not, it's going to be very simple. I'm just going to be waiting for us to get below this 50%. So somewhere in that is where I'm going to be looking, like that 131 flat area. Something below 131 is where I'm going to be looking for price to come back down into. And then it's just going to be simple. Just wait on confirmation for me to take that entry. We really didn't see it last week, any real good indications during that Frankfurt London, but we did the previous week, and then for me, it's just taking continuation moves up. Yeah, I mean, that's really what I'm going to be looking for. So, the perfect scenario would be something like this, like what we see right here. Hold on, let's back that baby into here. This would be the ideal scenario that I'd want to see for me to get into an entry in, say, like the next 24 hours would be this entry right here. I'd want to see us create the distribution during Asian, whether Frankfurt sweeps it or we end up coming London sweeping, we created ultimately our liquidity, and then New York ends up coming back and sweeping this. For me, I'd like to see either Frankfurt or London's open to do that. And if we don't, obviously I want to see it happen during New York, but this would be the ideal scenario for the next 24 hours for me to try to get into a GU buy. So I'd like us to just go sideways for now, allow Asian to really build out the distribution, and then take this to the upside, right? Overall, we've got some pretty decent movement that we can hit. Let's just say hypothetically we go up from here. I mean, we're talking, 120 plus pips is what I'm looking for. So ideally, that's what I want to see. From a point of interest perspective, I want us to get below the 131 level. Right, come back. Let's mitigate into this New York price action that happened here. Give me signs of evidence of buyers coming in, and I'm planning on taking to the upside. Not a tremendous amount of US dollar news, definitely no pound or ECB news this week, right? So it's really going to be just driven on a lot of the technicals and what's setting up for FOMC, in the preceding week. All right, so GU, that's what I'm looking for. EU and GU pretty close in price action on how I want to play this. We'll stay with EG real quick. So EG, I've got it on my radar. I'm not going to be aggressive in this. And for me, the main reason why EG is not something aggressive that I'm going to be taking is it's just not moving with any real sense of urgency. So, I mean, if you think about price, let's see, where was Monday? So if you think about price from last week, so here is Sunday, price from last week to where we are now, an entire week, this thing has moved 46 pips. So the last thing I want to do is tie up equity, margin, time, and effort on something that is just not moving with the sense of urgency, right? So I do have EG on my radar. I'm just going to be ultimately watching it to see. For me, the main thing I want to see is I want to see the break. So we are ultimately showing a sign of accumulation here, right? I want us to break the low. So ideally, if this becomes the redistro that breaks it, now I'll play mitigation of the redistro. That's really what I'm going to be waiting on. I don't want us to come back up anytime. What I want us to do is continue to the downside until we break this low, and now we can have this leg. Wherever this one ends, we're going to have a new leg. So that's my game plan with the EG. It's not a huge movement that I'm looking for, right? We're sitting at, from current price, we're sitting at about a 38 point move for us to break the low. So EG is something I'm going to be watching. Overall, I'm bearish on it. I'm going to continue to look for shorts on it, But where she's sitting at right now, there's nothing really for me to play until we come lower. All right. The last move on EG for me really was the 21st. Actually, was it the 20? Yeah, the 21st of August. It was just the redistro playing the aggressive move, trying to target the new low for 156 pips, for a pretty decent move. But outside of that, there really hasn't been anything for me to really take into on it. All right. Yeah, I mean that's really where she's at with EG. So EU and GU, I'm looking for the buys. The other one that I'm definitely watching is USHF. So I'm holding a crap ton of positions on USHF. The oldest one is back here in May, right? That thing to my target, I talked about it weeks ago, was 800 pips. So we're almost there, right? We're almost there. The next ones that I'm holding, I mean, to get down to the next low, it's a 1 to 117. And the one from July is going to be hopefully a 1 to 93. Outside of that, I just haven't been able to get anything going since I would say August started, right? There was a nice little move that I did catch on a redistribution. Where's she at? So there was right in here, August 1st. August 1st was a trade that I did get into, but I ended up closing out the whole trade just because she ended up giving me a nice little reaction and I didn't have a lot of risk on it. So August 1st was really the last real entry that I took on Chef. What I'm looking for now is, and you can kind of see how the market cycle is playing out here. So we've accumulated here, right? I am very much bearish on the dollar. I'm looking for the dollar to really give me a reason to be aggressive on USHF. The one thing I'm going to be looking for is the entire 50% of the move, the entire 50% of this market cycle sits right there. So what I'm going to be looking for is price to give me at least the 50%. If we don't get into the 50%, what I need is I need the distribution here to one, present itself, to confirm. So I'm not going to be extremely aggressive on USHF because one, I know that, well, I know this, right? I know that we're running out of time, right? We know that FOMC is coming up. So I know I want to be aggressive enough to get into a position. I know that I want to be patient enough to get into a position. So I'm not going to just start jumping in and trying to catch shorts on this. I know that we've broken the market cycle. We've taken out the redistro. So now it comes down to, okay, where can we potentially see price giving us an entry, right? This will, if it does present a distribution for me, this will be an area I'm looking to take, right? But I just need to be patient, let it develop, let it ultimately confirm, and then I'll take it down. And again, my target is going to be the next low down here, not six, yes, am I going to partial out when we break the low? Absolutely, right? I mean, it's roughly what 114 points or 114 pips from current price to this break. So I'm definitely going to partial out, but I'm looking to hold into this next area, which is going to be sitting down here around the 83,500 level, right? That's going to be where my next real target is going to be. So USHF is definitely one that I am just kind of stacking positions on, letting it play out. Again, one thing we haven't seen really on USHF is tremendous amount of pullbacks, right? So if price doesn't give me that pullback that I want, I'm going to be willing to give it an aggressive move. And especially with USHF, you're able to get really, really tight stop losses. I mean, the majority of all my stop losses in USHF or, like 6, 7 pips, like this one in here was like, I think 1.5. So, am I paying attention to Chef CPI tomorrow during Frankfurt? So you tell me, what is your thought process on the Swiss banks inflationary crisis? CPI came in high, I guess USHF starts the move down. Okay. So what's the current inflation issue going on in the Swiss bank? You tell me what's going on. Forget about the number that's forecasted. You just tell me, is there an inflation issue within the central bank? Okay. So is CPI going to give, is it going to give a reaction? Sure. Is it going to change the bias? So tomorrow CPI comes out and it ticks higher than forecast, right? Okay, we're going to get the reaction. If it ticks lower than forecast, if it comes in at forecast, like I honestly could care less. There is not right now in the Swiss bank, they are not fighting an inflation crisis. So what is going to move, or what is going to continue to provide the bias for US dollar Swiss franc? The Fed. Yep. That's all you got to know, right? We know with absolute certainty at this point, right? Betting markets, I think, have it at 96% that we get a rate reduction September's FOMC meeting. Question now is going to be, is it going to be 25 points, 50 points, 100 points, right? That's going to be the big ticker. We know that unemployment's been rising. So Friday's jobs data is going to be massive. You know, last month, right? Everybody should know where unemployment sits. 3.4% was the last release. If we come in at 3.4, 3.5, guess what? US dollar Swiss franc falls off the side of the earth. Right? That's going to not only put the nail in the coffin on rate reductions and starting quantitative easing, right? We now enter into a new monetary policy. But it also kind of cements in the bias that Fed's going to have to come in with some big rate cuts. So, yeah. But will this be posted on YouTube? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, well. Yep. So, yeah, that's kind of my thought process on what's happening with US dollar Swiss franc. Are you not seeing US dollar Swiss franc as a lower time frame distro at the moment? I mean, are you talking about like this right here? Or are you talking about like go down to the 1 minute and ask about that? Yeah. Why? So what gets me to go to a 1 minute chart right now? I mean, just look at let's look at every major distribution that's occurred that's really driven this down on US dollar Swiss franc. All right. Let's start on this one. What do we need to go down to 1 minute on that one? Or how about the 1 minute on that one? Or the 1 minute on that one? Or, I mean, hold on, let's move this down. Just look at all of the distributions that actually start this thing rocking down. Right? I mean, this one's pretty large, but even that one there, I mean, that's in New York into Asian. That's 12 to 18 hours worth. Right? Look at this one here. I don't need to go down to the 1 minute on this, right? Is this a distribution right now? No. For me, not a distribution. Distribution is going to start pretty soon. If it's going to give me anything, it's going to be in here. That's not a distribution, right? That's a reaccumulation. This whole thing is an upcycle. This is not the start of a down cycle. So yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd like to see what we do in here. But I'll tell you right now, on something like USHF, I'm probably going to wait for the distro to confirm. And I'll look to see if the distro doesn't take out demand to the left. I'll wait for the redistro to take out demand to the left. That'll solidify the down cycle. And then I play continuation moves via redistribution, continuation down. So that's going to be my game plan. All right, let's take a look at U30 real quick. So US dollars. So there was I mean, some of the guys caught an awesome buy. Caught an awesome buy out of here, man. I mean, that thing was just beautiful. Um, I didn't trade on Friday, so I mean, it was late in the day anyway. It was during lunchtime, but there was a fantastic buy in here. I'm personally in this position up here. I took some profits, and I'm just kind of letting it ride. So what do we have? You know, everybody that wants to short it, good luck. I'm just gonna kind of continue waiting for buys. So at this point, what gets me to get into a buy? If we come back and mitigate Friday's price action, I'll definitely be looking. Do you ever take counter trend on forex pairs or indices? Nope. Yeah, I stopped counter trend trading, bro. Yeah. Yep. Main reason I stopped counter trend trading is my journal told me to. Did that years ago. So I found that, if I get rid of my counter trend positions, if I got rid of my counter trend positions, I immediately took away a lot of my losses. And for me, it's not about how many wins and losses and all that stuff. It's how do I mitigate my risk? And then how do I get rid of needless losses? So immediately when I got rid of counter trend trading, I saw that my profitability. So I took less trades and they were all in the right, they were on the right side of the market. So will I take a pseudo counter trend move? Absolutely, right? Like I'll hedge a position. But remember that in order to hedge a position, you've got to be in the structure position first, right? Like if I'm hedging a US 30 sell, it's because I'm taking buys and I don't want to take profits from my buy positions. So that's the whole purpose of a hedge position, right? Is take profits out of the hedge so you're not taking volume away from your buy position. But you got to be in the buy position first. And a lot of people don't do that. So yeah, I don't counter trend trade though, man. It's not worth it for me. All right. So what do we got? Like I said, there was a substantial amount of buyers that came in on Friday morning. Um, Coming back into that will definitely be an area that I would look for mitigation. So one of the things I would be very, very eager to see is how deep we're going to come in. So we are in this distribution here, right? So, realistically, yeah, for me, it's I just want to see them sweep Asian lows, right? Every time we sweep Asian lows, that was this position here that I caught was perfect. We came in, we swept Asian low, beautiful buy came in, type one accumulation, buy stop, off we went. It's beautiful. You know, I'm looking for the same. So big question for me is going to be, are we going to come into the whole move? Which kind of sits like that. Or are we just going to come in to that lunchtime reversal? So, right. I mean, we get the reversal coming in right at lunchtime, and that's where I'm going to be looking to see. So, yeah, that's actually, let's see. Yeah. Ideally, I'd love for us to get below like the 41,225 mark, but I know better than to wish upon a star and hope that this happens. So ideally the scenario would be this. Like let's say we sell off tonight and then this is Asian. All right. I just want to see a sweep of Asian. I'll take buys out of that to the upside. I mean, that's ideally how I would take it. This will be the area where I definitely would be looking for buys. Um, but I'm looking for all-time highs on U30. I mean, just continue making highs, highs, highs. So, you look at the movement that U30 has done here. And I mean, since the start of August, this thing is up. This thing is up a whopping 3,100 points. So yeah, I'm only looking at buys. There's really no reason for shorts to come in. From a fundamental from a fundamental position, indices are going to go bullish. They're going to continue going bullish, right? The Fed's decision to rate reduce is going to create even further bullish action on indices. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with only looking for buys on this. So what happens if we don't come down here, right? If we don't come down here, I at least need the distribution here to give me some kind of shakeout. So maybe, maybe something along the lines of, we build out that ice, price breaks the low. We see buyers coming here in the form of an accumulation slash shakeout. For me on indices, I will always take the aggressive move on the shakeout to target the new high. And now what do we get? Now we get a reaccumulation. So U30, that's what I'm looking at, right? Obviously, U30 has been driven a little differently than SPX and NASDAQ, right? Specifically because of earnings over the last 2-3 weeks. U30 obviously is made up of different stock assets. Hold on one second. All right, silly dog. So, that being said, understanding what's coming out that's going to be influence SPX and NASDAQ, we know that they're definitely the laggards here, right? I am going to be looking for pretty much the same move, right? We can see where we're sitting at here. Friday's price action is going to be where I'm going to be looking to see if we could come back down into, right? Keep in mind that this isn't like a line in the sand for me, right? If we go lower, that gives me a better target to the upside. I understand that price is currently distributing. So same thing, right? If we get a sweep, below the weekly low to start off, and we start to see buyers coming in, I will take the aggressive approach to the upside. If not, I'm going to wait for us to come back into Friday's price action, and ideally the overall move is really what I'm looking for, right? I want to see how we can really get, this to kind of give us a decent play. All-time highs is only roughly, we're talking, we're not even talking 20 points here. So all-time highs is getting pretty close. It's just going to be a matter of where are we at New York Open. That's when I start looking for indice buys. And where's my manipulation? Right. And then who's in control, buyers or sellers? So obviously this has been very buyer driven the last couple of weeks. So it's been pretty easy, right? And we know buyers are in the market, find my manipulation, wait for the open, and up we go. That's pretty much what I'm looking for. So SPX and NASDAQ have been moving very, very similarly. Again, I'm just going to be looking for that play, right? We're 20 points on SPX. We are very, very, very close on US 30, and NASDAQ's going to give me probably the best that I could try to get is going to be, there we go. NASDAQ's going to give me the best opportunity because we are currently 1,200 points from all-time highs. So the positions that I'm still holding on NASDAQ, the one from August 8th was a Thursday. That thing's around a 1 to 10 only, but up to the high, that's going to be a 1 to 21. And the one that I got into on Tuesday, the 13th, that one will give me a 1 to 47. I'm holding way more SPX and US 30 buys than NASDAQ. I kind of stayed out of NASDAQ a little bit, especially with NVIDIA earnings. I really didn't want to get screwed over on some of the market gaps. So I like where NASDAQ came into. I like the price action we're seeing. I like, overall, I like how we've, started to show the upcycle back into the market. So this is what I'm ultimately looking for. Again, if we can come back into Friday's price action, this is going to be where I'm looking. All right. We've ultimately, let's clean this up. We've ultimately, and the anticipation is that we reaccumulate. So I would like to see us come back into Friday's price action, specifically that lunchtime reversal move, right? That's what I'm going to be looking for. Are we in a distribution here? Yeah, absolutely. And at the point where we're at, you can see I've got the alert sitting right up here. If we can get that price to now trade above here, now we have this leg right here, right? So now it's just building confluence. We know that the 50% of the whole move. is ultimately going to give us something into here, something into here. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. Yeah, sounds good, man. That's, I'm telling you, man, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you don't lose. You know, I'll tell you right now, I can't tell you the last time I risked, especially on indices. I haven't risked a lot. The majority of my trades are like 50, 60, a couple of $100 risks, but that was it. So what you got, man? Mm-hmm. Took this buy last Friday on NASDAQ. Does it look right? All right. So what you doing? Um, yeah. So you're looking at that as an accumulation. There was divergence, right? Because I remember seeing it. So yeah, like what do you, yeah, so this is an accumulation. That is a reaccumulation, right? So what's your entries based off of? So what did you do here? A buy stop? And then so what's that arrow there represent for you? Yeah, the buy stop for me wouldn't have been worth it. This would not have been a trade I take. I mean, that's a 1-to-1. So that wouldn't have been a trade I take. Um yeah, so what's this signify for you though? Like why take that? Also took these buys on U30 and got one loss. Yeah, it's the same chart, bro. Yeah, for me the risk to reward isn't on point here. Like this isn't something I would take. Let's see. NASDAQ, you said last Friday, so it was in here, right? So yeah, I mean, I didn't trade on Friday. I could tell you why a lot of the guys in my group didn't take this trade is because the risk to reward wasn't worth it. So the buy stop wasn't worth it. Yeah, the buy stop wasn't worth it. It was, let's see what you got, bro. The US 31 was definitely worth it though. Yeah, you got it. So this is U30. So was this a valid loss? Is what you're asking. Well, the first question you got to ask yourself is that a validated type one? So yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, this was worth it because this is the entry. This is the entry that everybody caught on Friday morning. But I mean, we'll look at it real quick. I mean, I know what the answer is. The answer is it's not a validated type one quite yet. So hold on. So I mean, let's just break it down, right? If you're going to validate your schematic, you got to validate it. So there we go. So first things first, change of character, right? Yes. Is this a change of character? Yes or no? You guess. Wait, I guess not. Well, how do you know? Like, how do you validate that as a change of character? I honestly think it is, but I'm just eyeballing it. So what makes that a change of character? Yeah, to me, it's a larger pullback. I mean, if we're looking at this to here, right? I mean that looks like that right there looks like it's probably a 38.2. This one to here looks like it's a 61.8. So yeah, change of character. I mean, at least that's how I'd eyeball it. I mean, we can measure it, but you don't need to. I mean, it looks like it. So that's my change of character. So that's climax to my rally, first change of character, phase A. So now the question becomes, is this enough for you to say phase B? And my answer is, what did phase B do? No. Like you're not you're not seeing evidence of buy orders getting filled. One, because if this is the buy order getting filled, what's it done? Nothing. It's not even showing a sign of strength. Do you get an up thrust action? Sure. But outside of that, like I can't, for me, when this happens here, when this price action comes in here, I'm still in phase B. Like I can't say we've gone to phase C. So, is that a valid play to take something like this? My answer would be not really. Like I wouldn't have taken that. I honestly would have just, as soon as this happens here, now I just box it out. Right. So I put an alert down here and I put alert up here. And when we break the high, I now look to the left and I'm saying, okay, so do we have a sign of strength for me to now take a type 2? And my answer is no. We haven't invalidated any kind of supply. Supply's up here. So once that alert goes off, I put the alert down here to get the spring. Yeah. Yeah. This is not enough evidence for me to say from B to C. Now once we get this and we see that up thrust action here, yeah, now we have enough for a spring. And there was the real entry that I know a lot of the guys caught was down here. This was the entry a lot of guys caught right there. So they took it out of this accumulation. You come in here on the seconds time frame. Yeah, you come in here on the seconds time frame. This is what they took right in here. So there's your schematic, and then there's your type 1 on your fourth drive. Yeah. I'll show you real quick what, let's see, let's go up here. I'll show you the one that I got into. So we got into Thursday's price action. And here's what Thursdays look like. So yeah, there you go. So here's the buy stop entry that I took here. So if I come down to the 1 second, I mean, you could see the validation here. So first things first, do we have a change of character, right? So is this push here, is this a larger retracement than the previous one? And it actually is. So this one was a 71 from here to here. This one was a 74. So we had a larger retracement. So climax to rally, secondary test to up thrust action, secondary test in phase B, right? Up thrust action, and we get our spring. And this blue line right here is Asian price action from the left. It's the Asian low. So we sweep the Asian low. That was my buy stop right here. So my entry happens right here. That was the buy stop. So, and you didn't have to, yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't have to risk a lot on it. Plenty of time. It's a 1 second time frame, but how long does this entire thing take in order for me to completely get validated? It took 2 minutes. I mean, 2 minutes is a pretty decent amount of time. So, yeah. So you only take, so I only take type, well, okay. So do I take type 2s? Seldom, very seldom. I mean, I've probably taken 5 in the last year, maybe 5. But yeah, I have some rules in order for me to take it. Yeah, there's definitely rules I have to take into account before I take a non-manipulated schematic. So But yeah, that's so U30, NASDAQ, SPX. I'm looking for buys. I would prefer to get into a NASDAQ buy or SPX buy this week. Just because we definitely got some better targets to the upside. But if US 30 is it, if US 30 is the one that plays it, that's where I'm going to get it to. So, but buys on indices, right? So I'm looking for bearish dollar. So EU and GU buys. I'm looking for USHF sells, and I'm looking for indices to continue skyward. That's my game plan for this week. That's how I'm going to be looking to attack it, and then go from there. Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Mm-hmm. I think I lack SME basics. What's SME basics, bud? Oh, some basics. I got you. Yeah. All right, cool. Listen, no questions. Perfect, perfect. Keep the calls kind of, well, I don't know, man. We're gonna see. Like I said, I mean, there's a whopping 14 people on here, man. And I get, I think if we get more, maybe we'll get everybody to come in like once a month, but we'll see. Uh, should I watch your YouTube vid of Wyckoff? Yeah, I mean, people have said that it's a pretty good video. It's definitely an old video, man. I can't tell you how old it is. It's got to be at least 3-4 years old. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a good basics, good place to start. On EU, are you looking for reaccumulation to buy or pull back into the area? Both. If she reaccumulates, I'm taking the buy. If she doesn't reaccumulate and comes lower, I'm taking the buy. Right. I'm going to play the continuation move or the pullback. That's pretty much it. What do you think about trading bots? What do I think about trading bots? What do you mean trading bots? Like EAs? Yeah. I mean, if you develop a pretty decent strategy, you can become pretty profitable with them. So, I mean, I don't even know, bro. I've got what do I have? I have 127 EAs, and I'd say that probably 30, maybe 40 of them are pretty profitable. The rest are, the thing about EAs is, you can buy EAs all the time. You're better off creating your own, you know. I mean, I've got, what do I have? I have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 of them that I've created on my own that are, yeah, they're pretty good. And the best part about it is, yeah, they catch trades when I'm not looking. So, um, let's see. Is EU rate cut the only hawkish? Is EU rate cut the only hawkish in the G10 currency? Is the EU rate cut only hawkish in the G10 currency? What do you mean? So every central bank is cutting rates. The only so the ECB's rate cut is not going to really matter. The only rate cut that's really going to matter is the Fed. So, are you building EAs yourself? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to, I mean, I would definitely, one of the best things I ever did was really understand and learn economics and monetary policies and what central banks do and don't do. So everybody's going to be doing rate cuts. but I can guarantee you on September 12th, when FOMC releases the rate cut, guarantee you can look at every pair in the global market and it will have a direct impact. When the ECB does their rate cut, the only thing that's really affected is euro pairs. So, and it's only a short term. It's not a bias changer. So really we're moving from, again, we've gone from quantitative tightening. We're going to be going to quantitative easing once we get that first rate cut. And, you know, the Fed ultimately is going to be controlling a lot of that market. So, well, let's see. Can you explain the yield curve? So for which, for the US? I mean, I'll give you the cliff notes on it. To get into the the nitty gritty of it, bro, would take forever. But the easiest way to explain it is everything. So if you think about it like this, right? So let's just talk specific to the Fed. So you have the FOMC, right? That's going to vote on our overnight rate, right? The overnight rate, which it's been stagnant since July of 2023, right? That overnight rate is really just the borrowing that banks do on the current overnight interest rate that's charged. When we look at bonds, when you look at bonds, what the heck did they just do, bro? Where are all my, why in the heck did they change this, bro? All right. So when you look at bonds, we've got 10-year, 2-year, and 30-year that I'm really paying attention to, right? So overnight rate is currently sitting at 5.5 or 5.25. I think it's 5.25. Overnight rate is currently sitting at 5.25. The 10 years at 3.9, 2 years at 3.9, 30 years at 4.2. So when they talk about the yield curve, they're talking, so this is forecasted, this is in the future, right? Because what they're doing is based off a 10-year, a 2-year, and a 30-year. This is that current overnight rate. The yield curve that they're talking about is the relationship between the overnight rate and where it's going into overall it goes in the 2-year, your 10-year, and your 30-year, right? So understanding the relationship and why these are so important is really the nitty gritty and understanding what the central bank's monetary policy and how it affects that current currency, right? So like we saw something we haven't seen in a very long time when, you know, we had the pandemic and the Fed was increasing rates in order to cause like capitulation in the US economy, right? They wanted to constrict the US economy. They wanted to limit borrowing. They wanted to really slow down the economy. By doing that, they ultimately created the ultimate safe haven in the world, which was the US backed bonds, right? And that's why we saw when these numbers jumped up to like 5.5, 5.7, that's why it was so much easier for investors to diversify into US bonds. All right. With that ultimately showing now that price is coming down on bonds, we know that this is the precursor. This is why, you know, I kept saying follow the bond market, because that was the precursor for me to start looking for dovish dollar, right? And obviously with the Fed ultimately following what CPI, well, ultimately what PCE is doing, but inflation is doing, what labor is doing, now we can kind of see that correlation between where we are currently, the overnight rate, and where we're potentially going to be within that curve, right? That's kind of like the projection on where we're going to be at a specific time, right? Hopefully that kind of makes sense. But it's definitely something, you know, that investors look at, because that's kind of a projection on where rates are going to be at any given moment. Will I take a trade before news? Depends on how far you mean between news, man. I'll tell you right now, will I take a sell anywhere close to news? No, I'm not going to take a sell anywhere close to news. Will I take a buy? Sure. The buy, I know the broker's not going to try to screw me out of it. I'm thinking of using ChatGPT for coding in EA. Sounds good, man. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, I've used ChatGPT on a couple of things. As long as you understand Python and you understand, how it's, yeah, I mean, you could do it. What did you study in university for economics? So I ended up getting an MBA or a master's in business administration. Yep. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Well, listen, I'm gonna hop off. I gotta go run and pick up some dinner real quick. So thanks for hopping on. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Have a great one. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the chats. And thanks for hopping on. I'll get this up online as soon as I can, though. You guys have a great one. Enjoy.